I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Dolly, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilwoman Capaldi.
Present.
Councilman Abbott.
Here.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Town Attorney Genesi.
Present.
Thank you for getting us the minutes from our last board meeting. I reviewed them and I found them to be in order. I make a motion that we approve them. April 15th board meeting minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi.
Abstain, I was not here that evening.
That's right. Okay, we are going to follow the sequence of the agenda. I had said earlier before the meeting to the people in the room that if we had 20 people here for the public hearing and only 2 that were here to talk about something other than, actually I'm going to change now that there's more people filing in. I'm going to take a little executive privilege here. We're not going to open the public hearing just yet. I think from our sign-ins, we have 2 gentlemen that are here that want to exercise their right to the open to the floor, the 5 minutes or less at the podium. George Winter. George, would you like to get up and... You most certainly can, sir.
Appreciate it. Forgot my COVID card, if you're wondering, but thank you
Full
very much.
disclosure, George Winter is were you the code enforcement officer in Webster
Yes,
that retired
code
3 years
enforcement
ago?
for 17 years.
17 years and you retired 3 years ago.
Yes.
All righty.
Yeah, I got to be age 75 and said this is enough.
All right.
Yeah. It was a great stint, and I loved the opportunity and appreciated pretty much every day of it, although some days it was very interesting. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I
Good.
think so.
I'd like to start off tonight with a little history about the Hojack Station and trail history. This is brief. This was surveyed in 1872 and it was bonded by the town of Webster. Shares were sold at $100 each, creating the Lake Ontario Shoreline Railroad Company. The railroad started operation in 1875 and went all the way to Oswego, New York. Going farther, it became part of the Roma Watertown Ogdenford Railroad. In 1914, it became a division of the New York Central, carrying passengers and a main line that was for fresh fruit, dried fruit, up and down New York State. Our community, where I live, is in Forest Lawn, was founded as a community in 1888, before my time. And it became a passenger stop that year. Now, with that said, we moved there 27 years ago, and one of the attractions here was the Hojack Trail and its access, getting us on and off the main roads to ride our bikes and go hiking, enjoy the neighborhood. In my 17 years of working for the town of Webster, I actually rode my bike to work 3 to 4 months of the summer of the year, and the Hojack Trail was my access, and weather permitting, and it was a great way to go back and forth to work. The reason I'm here tonight is to renew our safety concerns about the bridge. From day one, we have asked that the railroad bridge be replaced with a pedestrian walk bridge. In the years I've been there, there's not been any accidents accessing that trail via the existing railroad bridge. There exists a very deep railroad easement on the north side of the road that a Y-shaped split from a pedestrian bridge could be created down each slope, which would be a 5-foot wide path to match up with the existing path that's being created. And these paths could go in east and west. The existing east side path that's there now, and by the way, it's been there for walking up to the railroad station many, many years ago. So it would be pretty simple to coordinate it to make it flow each direction. When I finally received the drawings from Monroe County DOT, the PDF files in the January of this year, the final approved plans, I found that the grade and the blind path down to the highway is just not very acceptable. It had an 11% grade, and it was just too steep. I asked and got a meeting with our town supervisor on February 10th, and with Matt Chatfield in attendance. We had a very good meeting. They both agreed that the approved plans were designed at too steep a grade. Note that the handicap access is maximum is 8% grade. They subsequently had meetings with the Monroe County DOT and revised the plan. I have not yet seen the results. I also had asked that Matt Chatfield and Ron Nesbitt's suggestions a few years back, suggested that we get a grant write proposal put in for a pedestrian bridge. But Matt said that there was not much chance of getting a grant for a pedestrian bridge. And he suggested that I find a well-to-do resident to donate a safer access trail. I haven't tried that approach. Matt also sent me the waterfront multimodal access improvement study, which they requested funds from Monroe County for, getting a better trail access down to the Sandbar Park, and quite an interesting piece of literature. It also had another disappointing thing about the road diet project on Bay Road. For some reason or other, that got turned down by a few residents, and Monroe County paid attention to them.
George, I want you to know you're at 4 minutes right now.
Okay. I will leave that part out. At any rate, Matt also sent me a part about the Sandbar Park, which is quite detailed, but it essentially says that we really do need the bridge to be there. I have contacted York Bridge Concepts, the premier timber bridge company in the United States, and John York would design, build, and ship and install a pedestrian bridge that we need for a maximum of $150,000. Monroe County says the steel version that they would put in would be about $1 million. I would like to request a town workshop meeting with your organization to discuss the safety response and to replacing it with a pedestrian bridge. In closing, a trail starting or ending access on a blind curve could be disastrous for us in the future. Any questions?
No. Well, I don't know. Is there any questions?
No,
I shouldn't say.
no, thank you for your thorough report.
All right.
Thank you, George.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ahmed. Sir. You are up.
Thank you. It won't take more than 15 or 20 minutes. I mean 5, sorry. So good evening. Thank you.
Well, you'll be talking
Supervisor
outside
Flaherty.
to somebody even if it's...
Thank you for your time and for a quick few minutes. I only wanted to stop by tonight and let the town board know that the week of May 16th, so starting 2 Sundays from now, is EMS week. And the region, the state, the country, we do not do, in my humble opinion, a good job of recognizing EMS for all we do. This town, I would say, is quite different, right? The town of Webster has been behind EMS for the last 20 years that I've been here, and just wanted to let you know that it's coming up. If there's something the town board could do to recognize the EMS agencies in the town that serve you, there are several. There's the West Webster Fire Department Ambulance, there's Webster EMS, there's Northeast Quadrant Advanced Life Support, and on occasion even Penfield comes up. So there's really 4 entities that support the town of Webster in some variety of ways. And it would be neat if at a town meeting or something we could at least recognize them and all they do. There's probably 100 EMTs and paramedics through those 4 agencies that keep our town healthy and safe. So that's part A. Part B is during that period, on the 20th of May, so I think it's Thursday, is in conjunction with the American College of Trauma Surgeons and the Kessler Trauma Center at Strong, we are doing Stop the Bleed Day. So Stop the Bleed Day is a fairly new initiative that has gone on for the last few years to address gross hemorrhage in the public domain. So like we spent years teaching people CPR and it's making a difference, and then AED use and that's making a difference, now we're working on Stop the Bleed. In the town of Webster, we're very fortunate. As I tell you every time I come here, we have a great first response integrated network with the fire, police, and EMS. And our police officers who have learned the proper use of tourniquets have saved lives with them. We're now trying to take this to the next step and get the citizens, all of our friends and neighbors, the lay community, to be the first link in the chain of survival. So there's an online component. You go to stopthebleed.org, and then from 4 to 6 on Thursday the 20th at NEQ's headquarters on 780 Ridge Road, we will be doing the hands-on component. So all of you guys can come learn how to apply a tourniquet in case of accident or injury. So that is on the 20th of May. And the last thing I just wanted to report out, because I haven't done a regular report on EMS updates, but a new initiative that we started yesterday actually, is in conjunction with the Department of Health, Northeast Quadrant Advanced Life Support, Monroe Ambulance, CHS out of Henrietta, and Pittsford Ambulance, only 4 out of 19 agencies in the county, started doing vaccinations for homebounds yesterday. I was on the first team that went with Monroe Ambulance. We went together so we could learn, and we did 4 in the city. The highest number of homebound residents, according to the, oh my God, I just forgot the name of the group. It's not the Office of the Aging, whatever it is. The most homebound residents on their list at the moment is in Webster. We had no idea. And so we are going to be dedicating 1 paramedic on Thursday, starting next Thursday, I hope, to go and do homebound vaccinations. We're giving the J&J vaccine, so it's a 1-shot, 1 and done, and each vaccination takes us an hour. So we've got to leave at 8 in the morning, go all the way to Paul Road to get the vaccine, and from the time we puncture the vial the first time to the last dose, we have 6 hours. So we can only do about 5 people in a day, and then we have to go take all our paperwork back. But I thought it was something you should know because A, we're only 1 of 4 doing it, and B, to help us spread the word that if there are people that have not registered that would like to have the vaccine, they can call 211, very simply, call 211, register themselves, they'll get us on the list, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But I thought you should know that your EMTs and paramedics are doing something that few others are. So that's it. Any questions?
No, thank you very
No,
much for
thank
providing
you.
that
No?
service.
All right. I will let you get on with your evening. Thank you for
Sure,
your
and
time.
Ahmed is usually very, very informative, and thank you for all you do.
See you in a couple weeks. Take
Okay,
care. Good night.
you got it.
Thanks.
What's your total number in Webster that you have to attend to?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dean?
What's your total number of homebound that you have to attend
So
to
it's
in
interesting,
Webster?
the number's actually changing. So 4 weeks ago when we started doing all the legwork, it was about 50. And there was 400 and some in the Monroe County area. When we started Wednesday, we were down to 270 people. So we don't know if people have gone elsewhere to get them, or what we found yesterday, actually one of our 5 rejected us at the door. They didn't want the J&J vaccine. So there might be people that are opting out now. What we believe, there will be a PSA, actually, where's Karen? I sent a PSA to Karen, hopefully we can get it on the town website, that hopefully will get people to become aware. Yesterday was a soft launch just to debug it, but in the next couple of weeks, there'll be a lot more PR. And I suspect Mr. Dean will get back to the 50 or 75.
Okay,
Right?
thank you.
So, and it's age independent. So one of the people we went to yesterday was 24. This isn't for elderly. This is for people who, for whatever reason, cannot get to a clinic. We will come, and the other cool part, sorry, Tom, the other cool part is.
You answered the question.
Yeah, the other cool part is, if you are the patient that can't go, but you have 4 family members, we will vaccinate all of you. So if you want, we will, at one stop, hit everybody all at once, because we would like to get the whole house immunized at the same time. So it's really a very neat opportunity. So if you're a caregiver and you can't find the time to go and this and that, the caregivers, family members, as well as the patient can all get vaccinated per this program. So, all right.
Thanks, Ahmed.
Thank you. All right, good night, everybody.
So I just want to say before we start, should I say, continue the public hearing, because the public hearing started on April 15th. So this is just the second half, the continuance of the public hearing. Since we have a lot of people in the boardroom tonight, which is great, we just, from COVID procedures, we just opened back up to public attendance, I think, at the April 1st meeting. And I think it's fantastic to have some life in the room. If this is the first time you've been to a board meeting for the town, the open to the floor, each speaker, it's a long tradition that they know that they have 5 minutes. And I know it might seem like, well, geez, you're really keeping that, but you can only imagine if we allowed that to go on unfettered. Some of these board meetings would go in the past, from what I've heard before that cap was put on, until 11 o'clock at night. What I think is great is that, just like George Winter said, is that there's other avenues to get in front of the board, like the town board workshops, which are the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of each month, very much less formal than the 1st and 3rd Thursdays, and you're given much more time to present to the board and answer questions. So, you know, I'm erring on the side of caution. I don't want anybody walking out of here thinking, wow, that's a pretty stringent, 5 minutes and get out. There are other avenues, and there's reasons why we do that. Now, without further ado, what I think most people are here for is a continuation on of the public hearing. I know that from Richard Battisti and Anthony Tata, and hang on, they're here from Forest Creek. In this, at the end of the first half of the public hearing on the 15th, one of the things that I really implored, and many of you were here for this, so you can shake your heads yes if you remember me saying this. We don't want to have just a repeat of what was already said. So as far as I'm concerned, at this point, the developer has already presented. So you guys, I don't think we need you to come up and say anything at this point. Now, we reserve judgment that you might have a chance to rebut or clarify something as the speakers in the room come up and say something either for or against the rezoning and this R2 to R3 and the proposal, okay? Going to be consistent. Don't need to double up on what you already said, and like I said, I don't need to have the speakers and the telephone callers and the emails we got in from the first half to double up. They're in the record, correct, Holly? So, from what I have here, and some people came in late, so I don't know if they had a chance to sign in. Did anybody come in that did not sign in? Okay.
We can pass it.
Yeah.
Another sheet?
No, there's enough line items here to, but yeah, just, Dolly, would you mind getting the people who have not signed in yet? I think one might be Craig Kalkman. Oh, that's right, on behalf of Brady. Good. All right, these are the people that are here for non.
Karen's got it.
Oh, here comes Karen. Okay. So while they're signing in, first of all, Charlie, do you to open up-
Reopen, yes, you
To
can.
reopen the
Note the
meeting?
time and reopen.
Okay. What I figured we'd do, I'm going to set I got some more guidelines, I guess, of the second half of the public hearing before I hit the hammer down and open it. First, we will have the speakers that have made time to come into the meeting tonight get up and have their time to talk. Then, I'm going to read off some of the emails that we've received from people on this topic that should be entered into the record also. And I think we have around 4 of those, 4 or 5. And then, for people that were here last time, we had a little phone snafu. So I have it on Do Not Disturb now. So anybody watching at home who's like, I'm calling, we have it on Do Not Disturb because we're going to hear the speakers first. We're going to read the emails second. Then we will open the phone lines for anybody calling in from home. Make sense? I hope it does. And as Karen is passing that around, I suppose we already have enough speakers that we can officially reopen this public hearing. And
7:50.
Cheryl, yes, what, okay, Cheryl Addis. Is Cheryl Addis? Now, Cheryl?
I'm going to pass her right now.
Okay, and I just want to make sure of something. Cheryl, in my records, you called in.
Yes.
Okay? So I have your record here of what you called in and said on the 15th. Do you have anything new that just because now we're going from a call-in to being here in person, if it's the same thing that you called in and we recorded, is there anything new you have to add?
No.
Okay, and I'm really trying to walk on eggshells. I want to give everybody their time. But that seems to fall into the category of doubling up.
So, yeah, she put my name on there as an option.
Okay, so I'm sure people will be like, that supervisor, boy, he's a rude son of a gun. He doesn't let people get up and talk. Dean Bay. Where's Mr. Bay? Now, Dean, if memory serves me, you got up and spoke at the first half of this. Is that correct, Dean?
I did.
Do you have anything new to add?
Nothing right now.
Okay. I think this was from the planning board meeting, but not here. Was it from here? Did Ann and Ray Porter were here? Because now Ray Porter is here. Where's Ray?
I've got nothing to say yet.
Okay. That's George Winter. That, until we get the list that's going around, is the only names I have right now. So if everybody has filled in that sheet, we'll get to the next names. Thank you, Karen. You're doing double duty tonight, right? Okay. Dean and Brenda, you were here last time. Anything new to add? You do. Let me ask you this. Does it have to do with a letter I got today from a certain, okay. Would you rather me just reference it, or do you want to give up and give your, I beg your pardon? That's fine. And I do want to tell you this. Well, you know what? Who do you have copies for? You?
I already gave them to
Give them to anybody you want, okay? And why Dean and Brenda are handing those out, I just want to let everybody know that I wouldn't say that this is so much a comment into the public hearing, but at 4:50 p.m. today, I got an email from a Tara Fusco, a paralegal at McConville, Considine, Cooman, and Marin. You ever heard of that firm, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. It's a letter in opposition to this rezoning. And I'm going to, once again, this came in, dated today at 10 minutes to 5. It is about 3 pages long. I would imagine that Brenda is handing it out. And no, it's actually about 4 pages long. Now, here's the thing. Dean and Brenda, at the last meeting, you referenced, and it was probably the most critical piece of information of what happened back in 2018 or didn't happen, and referenced Article 225 or whatever. Fantastic. And that was a very good pickup, no question about it. I can honestly say, and I'll defer to Town Attorney Charlie Genesi, we're not here to practice law tonight. We're not here, this is not, a deposition, this is not discovery. If you've gone, you alone, or you've gone to a group of people and you've got an attorney who in the letter says they don't have enough facts to really make a comment. They're just going on record, okay? And that's fantastic. That's your right as a citizen, okay? But I want to make something very clear here tonight as we go through this public hearing, and since we are in a second half of a public hearing, very possibly to a vote on a resolution of whether the town board is voting to approve the change from R2 to R3 or not. That 5-page letter from a law firm is, to me, has nothing to do with this process tonight. If that letter ends up being a lawsuit and moving forward, well, then it will be handled in its appropriate manner. Do you agree with that, Town Attorney Genesi?
That sounds, yes.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
And I really, Dean and Brenda, I hope you understand where I'm coming from on that.
No, I do. I think that the point is given in the end of the letter, basically
Yes, and Dina, it's interesting, and like we said a couple weeks ago, you got my attention on that. And we did some research on that, looked at the code, and as often happens, people will go and take a certain words from the code, and then they say, well, see, that in and of itself proves the point. Well, there's some other words in that code that basically give an interpretation, Attorney Genesi, that if the owner didn't do something 3 years ago, but the town did all of their things, that essentially the town is not beholden to what the owner didn't do. Now, whether that holds up in court, I don't know, okay? There has also been some things that we researched that, and once again, I feel like 2018 is a ghost. I'm fighting a ghost in a lot of ways. This ultimately would be, I think, in Article 78.
Correct.
And an Article 78 has a certain number of days from the action happening to file it.
4 months.
This happened back in August of 2018. Now, like I said, I don't want to sit here. I've been, at my business, was involved in enough lawsuits, mostly as a plaintiff, by the way, just so you know, that I'm not going to speculate how a judge, if you decide to pursue this, which might be a moot point because we might go vote and say no, but you'd still pursue it. Because whether we change it from R2 to R3 or leave it as R2 tonight, your contention is it should be large lot from 2018, right? So it really doesn't matter what this board does tonight. If we leave it at R2, or we vote to move it from R2 to R3, what this 5-page letter says is all pointing to the fact that your contention and what's in the letter is that the 2018 process was imperfect, for lack of better terms. And I'm not going to sit here tonight as a judge, jury, or whatever and discern that. That would be for a court hearing if it ever gets to that. And please, by all means. I don't blame you.
You're saying that the town did what they were supposed to do, correct? But every neighbor who has been sitting and talking to this lawyer, unfortunately, we got the FOIL, whatever it was, from Webster. Everything happened too soon for them to go through and actually, take it to the different level, like you had said. So we're here now, but wouldn't the town have put the signs up in the field saying that there was a notice, or was that?
Property under review.
Yeah, or was that for
No.
the owner to do that?
No.
Who puts those signs up? They're
Why are they
there.
up now?
Well,
They've changed
No,
it.
no
we have
good
them-
deed goes unpunished. We put those signs up because we thought that, we want to be transparent. We want to err on the side
But
of
not in
caution.
218 though? Not in
I
218?
can't speak for 2018.
No,
But-
they were not.
There
I
was
really
no- There was no
can't.
rule, no.
We
There was
didn't-
no requirement at that time.
Right.
We didn't do signs then.
So, but okay, but the letter
Anywhere.
was not a requirement either. Because none of us got a letter. I am on one side, Dean Bay is on the
Yes.
other side.
And
We
I
actually
want to
touch
make
it.
this, once again, and Dean, I'm not, if you didn't get a letter from the owner back in 2018, all right? I don't make any assertion of whether that's true or not, okay? Now, I know that you have this time, okay? The town had 5 meetings back between May of 2018 and August of 2018. And once again, this is why there are attorneys and this is why there are lawsuits, okay? Because if you decide, and it's well within your rights to pursue this, and remember, am I correct? Brenda, you were shaking your head like this, okay? Tonight when we walk away, all right? We are either going to vote to keep it as R2 and not change the zoning from R2 to R3. You happy with that? No. You want it back to large lot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what we can't do here tonight?
Change it back to like.
We're not going to change it back to large lot. So the other option tonight is this town board, after hearing everything, decides to change it from R2 to R3. For all the things that we've already talked about from a standpoint of that R3 rendition is better and has a chance to go to planning board and be better for the neighbors than an R2 rendition with 28,000 square foot lots.
It's
At the
disagreement.
end of the day, you've made it very clear, I think I understand, you want the hands of time turned back, either by the board or by the legal process, that it's large lot. I totally get it, okay? That's not going to happen at this board meeting tonight.
This I understand.
can honestly say I don't think that's going to happen in any resolution where we go and say, you know what, guys? We should vote on a resolution to change the zoning from R2 back to large lot. I don't think that's going to happen.
That may not happen here. That's not my point.
It
My
could
point-
happen through a court proceeding. And
correct.
you all know, all right, you all know, there's precedent, full transparency, that a group of citizens got together, they went for an article set, or whatever they did with the CEA farms, and they won. And that is great. That's great that the community can go and do that, and that we live in America where they can go and they have another option. Whether that fact pattern of that situation is similar to this fact pattern, and you would go and be able to say that really what happened back in 2018 was, it should have never happened, and this goes back to large lot, I don't know. And a 5-page letter that I receive at 10 to 5 from a paralegal on something that is really, I'm just trying to be honest, that is not going to effectuate what we do here tonight. Because you even said,
So-
if we walk out of here voting down R2 to R3, you're not happy. You want it to go back to large lot.
We could, no, yeah, we do want it to go back to
Right.
that.
I
And just
understand.
like you echoed my words last meeting when I said correct is correct, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so if the letter should have been mailed out by Bob or his sister, and none of us got the letter, you were supposed to have an affidavit that showed that he mailed those. And if not, then you, as the board, said that this isn't happening. If you can't give me the affidavit, why would you possibly say that all of us didn't get it? Like, I didn't get my mail, but Dean Bay didn't
Dean,
either.
we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna tell
We
you
should
why.
move on.
All right?
We should.
We
This
are gonna
is-
move on, because here's the thing,
So give him his 5 minutes.
okay? Well, I'll tell you what. We are now at 7.
That's what I'm saying.
But guess what?
He hasn't started.
No, we're at 7, and even if we take away my verbosity on this one, he's at 4. Do you have a minute to wrap up your point, Dean?
No, I think you have my point. The point.
I don't know what your name is yet, but you might.
The point is that the town didn't follow their own governance. They did not follow their own, what you know they didn't do. We did not have a letter. You do not have an affidavit, or we would have it, but we don't have it because you didn't get it.
And Dean, this is where we might agree to disagree, okay? And this is why there's courts. You pointed out something, you brought it up. It was a great point. All right, you got it. You were dead nuts on. But there's later parts in that says, in more words or less, Charlie, and I can pull it up here. If the town did their portion to the letter, which we did. Now, we can agree to disagree. You're saying, well, you didn't do it to the letter because you didn't get the affidavit. But we had 5 board meetings, the planning board, all these things.
And who was there?
and
What
all
neighbor
that.
was
Well,
there?
here's the thing, and interestingly enough
Excuse
about
me,
that.
Mr. Supervisor, let
Yep.
me interrupt. I really hate doing this.
I'm glad you are.
I've done it. I rarely have done this. We're really arguing a legal point here. And it's a very, very small, very narrow legal point as to jurisdiction, as to the effect or not effect of a notice having been sent out 3 years ago. It's a legal issue. It really has nothing to do with the issue at hand tonight, which is, I don't know who's interrupting me. I wish they would not do it because it's the supervisor's meeting. The bottom line is that the issue before the board is whether or not this should be rezoned. Whatever happened, as far as notice goes, if somebody wants to bring an Article 78 or some other sort of legal proceeding, they are more than welcome to bring it. We will, at that time, deal with it as necessary. But at this point, this really is not an issue that this board should be dealing with.
I do agree. Charlie, I agree with that. This doesn't have anything to do with this. My point is, just like it said in the bottom of this email, that it's sort of a pointless matter to actually take it and rezone it from R2 to R3 when it's not really properly done to get it to R2. It wasn't legally done to get it to R2.
And
All right, let's just move
this
on.
is, we'll agree to disagree, and I will also tell you this. I am very conscious of the fact that I'm not looking to take a decision made back in 2018, when I wasn't the supervisor and not on this board. I'm not touching that. That, to me, is there. I've gotten counsel on the fact that Article 78s have to happen within 120 days. I will say this. With the same amount of notice, the Webster Herald, which you've all said at the planning board and whatever, is a paper that nobody gets, and the website and whatever, the way this was promoted or made notice of legally and beyond legal and websites and whatever is exactly how it was done back in 2018. I searched those records with the town clerk. I don't know why between May and August that there wasn't really anybody showing up at the planning board meeting like they did this time. There was nobody showing up at the public hearing on the 15th like they did this time, even though when those happened, from what you're telling me, and I have no reason not to believe it, the owner back in 2018 didn't send out the letters to you guys. That's the part I don't understand. Everybody has said that the R2 to R3 is benign, and in fact, I think you all agree it makes sense based on potential buffering and this and that makes it more palatable to the neighbors. I don't understand. I wasn't here. I owned a business back in 18. Why people didn't come out of the woodwork like they did for the public hearing for the planning board, and like they did for April 15th, the first phase of this public hearing, for R2 to R3, when everybody agrees that's neighbors, that large lot to R2 is really what you feel is the big bomb. I don't get that.
I think that nobody knew in 2018. I don't
How
know
did they find out this
I don't
time?
know. Honestly, I don't know. How did we find out? Because then we spread the word.
This was
They-
before things were hung on the door. This was before we put the signs out there once we
Yeah.
became aware of this.
Somebody
This was
found-
before these guys sent out, everything up till April 15th was
Was it Kayla that
exactly the same as 2018, and that's the part I don't
I
understand.
think it just happened to be that one of our neighbors said something to me, and then we spread the word. Because
Okay.
we got no letter, not
Well, then
until...
that,
Not only that,
That's how I
yeah.
Oh, is that what it was, Ed? Maybe Ed.
There was people in the fields, which we can see from our house.
The guy came out, I had a survey done, and I asked, why are you measuring over there if you're doing my property?
okay. So, we're gonna go to Dean.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
here
one more
are-
thing, Tom, one more thing.
Sure.
One more thing. The buffer zone, it does not affect the true neighbors, Dean Bay or me. It doesn't affect us. It affects across Salt Road. It does not affect me.
And we're
at
gonna
all.
get to that when we get these
Yeah,
two
when we
guys up
get
there,
to it.
because, from the first public hearing, I already talked to Tony Kashani and this and that, and he said, well, you put a lot of pressure on us at the planning board on how we would have to do this development, because you basically, at the first public hearing on the 15th, Supervisor Flaherty said, you're kind of making the developers make some type of buffer on the north and south side. So, I'm trying. So now I got, is it the Remans?
Yeah, right,
Brian, I'm sorry. Alicia and Roman, is
right.
one of you going to speak
Yeah, I
for?
want to speak, my husband is.
Jump right up there, Alicia.
Well, I can sit over here.
Oh, no, you gotta, you gotta come up. It's a public hearing. Everything goes into the record. This is why we can read this stuff 3 years later.
Live and learn, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, so I found out around April, there was a surveyor coming through my property, and I found out that the land was sold.
And Alicia, what is your address?
288 Salt Road.
Okay.
And I started asking questions. I said, who bought that land? And then he told me that he doesn't know anything about it and it's going to be big development. And what I don't like is that is so much traffic going on right now on Salt Road. There are big trucks coming and going all the time. You can even go for a walk. If you're going to put a 79 homes over there, that's, how can we live over there? This is like a 104. It's a very busy road. I can't even take my dog for a walk because the trucks are moving so quick. It's very, concerning to me. Basically, this is what, what I am here for, that there is too many homes.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Ryan?
And then how you going to, let's say they're going to put 79 homes over there. You're going to have to build bigger schools. Who's going to pay for that? A tax bill going to be high. My husband doesn't work anymore because he's disabled. He had a stroke. I can't afford any more taxes to pay for. And I'm sure the tax is going to go up.
Thank you, Alicia. Back on April 15th, Mr. Stenny called in, and we had quite the phone conversation. Mr. Stenny, we have all the things in the record of what you said on that phone.
I just have one thing to bring up. I don't want to repeat what was said there. You heard.
Jump in there, Ed.
I'm feeling much better. You feel safe around me.
I know when you called in, you said you had COVID back on the
Yep, I
15th,
did.
but that was 3 weeks
I've
ago.
had the vaccinations, I've had COVID, I've had everything.
Love it.
Okay, I guess I could take this off, right?
You can.
Okay, the thing I wanted to bring up, I was doing some reading, some research on this, and I looked at, and on the town's website, I found a comprehensive plan. And this comprehensive plan, unfortunately, hasn't been updated since December of 2008, which is kind of amazing, seeing all the changes that have occurred. But I want to cite just a short piece here, and this is on page 2, it's the bottom paragraph. Areas designated rural residential on the future land use map are located in the Hilliard area, and they talk about Pelling and Whiten, and then they talk about the town's eastern boundary. This designation is intended to preserve the large open tracts and independent homesteads that characterize the agricultural past of Webster. Where they remain, these scenes provide a glimpse of Webster's past and a reminder of what makes Webster unlike most sprawling suburbs. And this is one last sentence, minimum lot sizes in the proposed residential, in the rural residential category are proposed to be maintained at 3 acres as currently required by the town's large lot zoning district. Okay, and my question is, why would in 2018 have the planning board or the town thought they could just override the plan that they had? I mean, there's no acknowledgement that this exists, but it does. This is a plan. That's why you make a plan. Okay, I did business planning for years working for Eastman Kodak. You make a plan, and the idea is to stick to the plan. This is the map to go forward. What we're doing now is we're taking a large section of that plan, and I have the maps here, and people can look online. I'm not gonna rehash what's in maps, but this is a large section of land we'll never get back again. And I will go back to one thing I did say at the planning board is we are making Webster look like Greece and look like Henrietta. And I think the intent of this document was to prevent that from happening. So yes, am I going back to I believe 2018 was invalid? No, because it violates this plan. Even more so than whether you mailed letters out or not. So I'm not gonna stand up here and rehash. Even in this plan, it shows that land is farmland. So somehow now, we've went from a farm, we've went to large lots, we've went to R2, and it looks like we're on the way to R3. And then we should take this plan off the website, because the plan is not valid, and we're not following it. Thank you.
Ed, it's an excellent point, and I will tell you this, since 2008, there haven't been a lot of situations from what I've researched, but there have been situations where parcels have been rezoned off of what was on that plan. And that really shouldn't be that surprising because it's been 13 years. And things, change. In fact, I don't want to get into it too much, but the town board knows that we've started the foundational work of updating that plan. But we won't get into that tonight.
Okay,
But the thing is this,
change.
I can't,
Yeah.
and I can't stress this enough, and I, you know what? It may not make me popular, but it's the truth, and it's a fact. I can't speak for the rationale of why in 2011 they changed some zoning back over on 5 Mile Line Road to LC2. I can't speak in 2018 why they changed the corner of Schlegel and, is it Salt?
Salt, yeah.
They changed that. And I can't speak to why they changed this property from large lot to R2. I don't know, because I wasn't in the room. But it happened, and there is a legal process that it can happen. Is that correct, Attorney Genesi?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, would the plan have been, I don't want.
There is a
Would the
legal
plan have
process
been
to do it.
amended?
The problem with the comprehensive plan is, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you want to take that as a Bible, there are several initiatives in that plan that never got done. So I'm just as frustrated as you on that, Edward, and I want to make sure when we go to update the plan, that we find out why did certain things not get done, and make sure that when we update it, that we don't repeat history, and make sure that the initiatives we put on the next plan have the chance to get done. Now, with that being said, like I said, it might not make me popular, but it's true. I looked at this situation, and when I got 3 or 4 meetings, the developers came at us and said, this is what we want to do, and the process was that I still believe from R2 to R3, based on the fact that at R2, what it currently is, that's a fact, that's what it currently is. The most houses you could put in an R2 configuration with 28,000 square foot lots is 79. Usually a developer wants to go to R3 because they want to put in 100 houses. These guys said, we can do the same amount of houses. We're not trying to be slobs and get more houses. We can create buffers so it's not offensive to the neighbors. Now, I hear what you're saying, Dean Bay and to the north and south. But like I just said earlier, if this goes through, the developers already know that when it gets to the planning board, that there's pressure on them to put together a plan, not only, but that has buffers on the north and south so that it isn't offensive to the neighbors. I stand by this. The R2 to R3, based on the plan that's shown to me, is a common sense move to not be offensive. And I think everybody else does here.
Yeah.
The fight is that I've tried to say I'm not going to get into, and Attorney Genesi, you have said you can't get into, is to say that 2018 was wrong, should never have been done, and got expunged. That's not going to happen.
All right, fine. I'm
all
just
right.
saying that once this is done, and we're all concerned today, and everyone's talking about, green jobs, we're talking about the environment and everything else. And once you chew up this land, it's done. I don't care if you put R2, I don't care if you put R3, okay? We are destroying our heritage here. And that's what I brought before the planning board. And again, at that time, I was unaware of this document. You're right. This is not cement to be forever. But obviously, what they're talking about in here is preserving part of the fair, and it's not on a huge part. It's not like we have large lot all over. When I looked at the maps here, this was one of the only areas left.
Ed,
I'm
couldn't
not.
agree. You know what?
Yeah.
I got you.
We'll part as friends.
Well, no, we are. I hope. I think I have 3 left here on the list. Mike McGee? You did? I don't think, I would have remembered Mike McGee, a fellow Irishman. I don't think there's a...
You forgot me already?
No, I
was here last time.
Dolly said, I think you might have, oh, yep, you did call in. 37, 3 kids,
He was here in person.
Yeah.
public hearing speakers.
So
He was here.
The only thing new I have to say is that I grew up with the farmers that work the land, and they were not aware of it even being R2. They thought it was a large lot, and it was turning to R2.
Gotcha. Okay,
That's all I got.
thanks, Mike. How could I forget Mike McGee? Mike, I apologize. I know what, he's right above Ed Sten, he's right there. Did I have the notes right? You got 3 kids and you're 37. Did we age you?
Sorry?
Are you 37 and got 3 kids?
disappointed.
That you're 37 and got 3 kids, or?
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I think we're down to, if this is who I think it is, this guy is a pretty darn good golfer, Frank Cousineau.
Yeah, I just stand with these guys. I just moved in, so I don't know too much about the area like these people do, but I'd like to keep it the same way they were.
Yeah. And Frank, if I got the record, you were at the planning board meeting back on April 6th, I think. Okay. And that leaves, it seems like there's more people out there, but, is it Mike Baker? Bacher. See, I tried. Michael, you want to come up? Because I don't think, oh, no, I do. Public speakers, was this ours, or Mike Bacher, 263 Salt Road? No, you came to the planning board. I don't think he's listening.
No, he's right there. He's talking to,
Trying to make sure I got the, this I think is the planning board. Yeah, planning board. Mike was at the planning board back on April 6th. Mike, you coming up? All right.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, and you've said it 6 times tonight, and we're not here, obviously, to get it down to LL, right? So, I mean, yeah, your ghost, your apparition that you were talking about, Casper, there is going to be costing us all in this room, all of us Webster taxpayers, a lot of money in the court systems. For these people that are here and here, they're going to pay twice. Okay? The gentleman that said something and blattered on about something and not being in the bylaws at that time is full of horse manure because it hasn't been updated since 2008. We have vehicles every day that drive by our houses at 80 miles an hour. We don't have enough police to take care of this issue now. Add another 200 vehicles from this 79 houses, as we discussed. You know, we're going to have an issue unless you guys build a cop, you know, like a police station on Salt Road, all right? Especially when you go ahead and add your cannabis shop on Schlegel Road. I think we're not listening, all right? You do a lot more talking than you do listening. You didn't have his time. So I'm going to submit mine 2.5 minutes to her, and she can come up here and give you what for. The other problem is, I'm not sure, I think that Monroe County should have been, because it's a county road, and this isn't the county of Webster, Salt Road is a county road, and we didn't have enough time to get into the the whole issue with the attorneys and what should be with you guys. When you said you had 5, 10, I don't know, 20 meetings here, 2018, which is irrelevant now. Was Monroe County in here? Did they give that? Were they part of it? Because we foiled that information, but we are missing a lot of information. So we'll find out what's missing in court. And I know there's enough money in here to bury you guys. And we'll figure this out. And these guys will have to ante up as well. I'm sure this land is worth it.
Well, I will say this, that a lot of what has been brought up in these hearings is more at the planning board stage. The planning board, whether this was large lot R2 or R3, when a development is proposed in there, whether it needs a traffic study, just because the comprehensive plan years ago said it was a certain zoning, if a traffic study is done and says this road doesn't support this development, well, then it doesn't support the development. It doesn't matter what the zoning is, and that's a problem. At the first public hearing, there was things about the water comes off of this farmland right now and goes into other people's yards, and people were very concerned about that, as well they should be. At the planning board stage, when they would come and show how they're going to make sure that that doesn't affect the abutting properties. Engineers, for the developers, our town engineer would look at that also, Mary, I would assume, to give a second opinion on that. So there's a lot of things of protections, whether this was being built for houses of large lot, whether this is being built for houses on R2 or R3, there are things that happen at the planning board stage for any developer that comes in with their design and whatever, that a lot of these things are vetted out at that point to make sure that it doesn't become something that is a problem. So, and I know Mike left and I know he's upset. No, the county wouldn't be doing a traffic study of something where there is no proposed development at the planning board. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And if we're done with the public speakers, I can get into the emails.
Are we,
And one of the emails,
are we done with public speakers?
we are done, I think, you know what, Ed?
I just want to ask one quick question. The information you just talked about now that will be done on the planning board, will that information be made public, those studies?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
my own question.
I want to get out of here, and there was one of the emails, and then we'll open up to the phones. And I got to see here. One of the emails, a gentleman, and I want it to go into the record. Here we go. Okay. Okay. All right. Here are emails. Okay. Public comment for tonight's meeting. This is from a gentleman by the name of Tom Bouchard, 1483 Fieldcrest Drive. I can print this off, or you have it there, okay. Yeah, it's easier to read that than, and Tom says, let me start that I don't live near this property. I realize that this project will be built, but I feel the land was already rezoned from large lot to a more restrictive R2 zone. Now the proposal is to further reduce this to R3. It seems to me that seeing this land has already been reduced to R2 from large lot, it shouldn't be further reduced. I do like to ride my bicycle around the town, and Salt Road is a road I ride on, but with all the developments, Bellaterra and the Westwood Estates, and now this new development will add a lot more traffic on Salt Road. With little shoulders on the road, this will become more dangerous to ride on. Looking at the two layouts of development, I like the layout of R2 better. I don't know what are the setbacks on the R2 to R3 different from future homeowners that want to put in a shed, fence, swimming pool, or other things. With larger lot, it seems that it would be better for these types of things that the homeowner may want to have on the property. I have a question about the town's comprehensive plan. Does this plan indicate where large lot R1, R2, R3 zoning is in the town along with other zoning? If so, could someday come where other large lot zones be changed to a more restrictive zoning, then reducing the large lot areas of the town? If so, what good is a comprehensive plan? Thanks for listening. All right, and that's from Mr. Bouchard. Yes. Okay, thank you. This helps a lot, that I don't have to go search these. This is from, I think it's Jeannie Gauss at 1649 Woodard Road. After reading up about this development at 230 Salt Road, I feel neither plan is a good fit for what should remain Webster's most rural area. Both plans cram too many houses into a small area. There are only 3 less houses in an R3 plan as opposed to the R2 plan. How is this providing more green space? Big houses on very small lots. Look at the crowded disaster we have in Westwood subdivision, the former Webster Golf Course. All big houses too close to the street and no sidewalk for walking or kids to play. It's a sad-looking, overcrowded subdivision, and 230 Salt Road is destined to look just like it. Salt Road is no longer the open country that so many people want. It's turning into one ugly subdivision after another. It's no better than living in the village, and they at least have sidewalks where you can walk safely. Webster has become a greedy town that lets in greedy developers. Please slow things down and think more long range. Webster is no longer where life is worth living. And that's Jeannie Gauss. Do you have Joseph Packard? Okay, that's the, let me get that one. Okay. Joseph Packer, Pacher, 227 Basket Road, says, I would like a copy of the engineer report on drainage and environmental impacts for the proposed project. I own the property just to the east of this area, and the property I own has drainage from a wetland area that drains into the land being rezoned. I just received notification of this plan and need time to review the reports requested and/or have independent assessments performed. I also need time to engage legal support. Please extend the time to approve rezoning this land and allow time for proper evaluation of the impacts. Thank you for your consideration. In that one, that falls to what I said earlier about the engineering analysis studies. That's at the planning board stage. That is the emails that we got for the second half public hearing. With that being said, it is 8:34. I'm going to take the phone off of Do Not Disturb, and we will see about Collins.
I can go in the hall and call.
You, well, I would imagine that it means that from the 15th and today, that everything that you have said has articulated the feelings of anybody that would have called in. Or we just don't have a lot of people watching tonight. I'm not sure. As far as, before we close out the public hearing, Richard and Anthony, you know, I don't know if there's anything you want to say from a standpoint that hasn't been said tonight, you know, by all means. But I don't, it might be unfair because I don't know if you were here on the 15th. In fact, I know you weren't.
I was, but I.
But Walt,
But Walt
spoke, yeah.
Yes.
So,
So I'm Richard Battisti. I'm with Forest, I'm president of Faber Builders, and I'm associated with Forest Creek Equity. And with me is Anthony Tata. Just like to say that we did get the receipt of the letter that you referred to from the attorney in the 11th hour. And we do not, we reviewed it briefly with our counsel, and we do not, he does not concur with what was said in there. We think the town boards acted properly, and we just want to also say, I'd like to also say that, you know, we're looking to be good neighbors. I know that one of the residents brought up her concern about taxes. I mean, we're going to be putting in 79 lots, 79 homes of high, you know, high quality, and they're going to be contributing to the tax base, and they're going to be, if anything, they should help the tax structure in the town. And again, just reiterate our desire to have, we're not asking for any more density than what is already there in the R2, and we think it makes for a lot better design. And
well, and I just want to say that, you know, I take people at face value. You're innocent until proven guilty, and certain, I guess. But because so much of this is public now, the only reason we got to this point is that the R3 configuration with potential for buffers and all that, and the same amount of houses that would be in the R2, that got my attention. That seemed to be a pragmatic move that was, you know, it was zoned R2. I mean, that's what I looked at, and I said, okay, R2 is 28,000 square feet lots, R3 is 22,000. It would have been just obvious that you're just trying to change the zoning so you can jam in, you know, 100 houses there instead of 79, which is really what you can put in the R2. And once I saw that, and once you showed you wanted to save the, you know, the trees on the east coast or east border and do some things up front so that maybe people from Salt couldn't see it, ponds and that, that got my attention, which led to other meetings with Tony Kashani, the planning board chair, with Josh Artuzo, who's the community development director. And the more I heard of it, I said, this does make sense. And that's how it all started. There was, I still think from R2 to R3 in what you're proposing makes sense. Because of all this track record, this is assuming if we go to vote and we change it there, you know, if there comes a day where you get in front of the planning board, there's a lot of pressure on you to keep your word, and the planning board knows about all this stuff, so.
of course, I mean, we want it to be a desirable, good-looking neighborhood. We like to be good neighbors, you know. I hear everybody's concerns, and we'll definitely try to address everything at that point.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, the engineering, the water flowing off of it, retention ponds, traffic studies, all that all comes as part of this, and any one of those things can kill a project.
Yeah, or, you know, it could cause us to modify it, you know, whatever, you know. We would take it as it came, obviously, yes. If a traffic study was required, and that could change the project for sure. But
because
again,
I
that doesn't
can't
happen.
deny that the Salt Road that is sitting there in 2021 is very different from the Salt Road than when I moved here in 1997. So as the Westwood Estates and other things went in there, and you know, I don't know where the critical mass point comes that when the traffic study is done and the county road says it can't handle anymore. I don't know. So.
And just one last point from me, from my perspective. This is the second time the planning board has recommended it to be rezoned. I mean, they liked the idea of it going to R2 twice, so.
That is true. I did look at the letter of the recommendation from the planning board in May or June of 2018, and the letter was very specific that we would recommend that this be rezoned from a large lot to either R2 or R3. They overtly said in that letter 3 years ago. The town board at that time decided to change it to R2. Once again, I don't know what, you know, but that's what happened back then, so. Public hearing is officially closed. At what time? 8:41. Okay. Because usually we would not have a resolution on the same night of the public hearing, but since it's public hearing, I don't know how many precedents we have of a public hearing that goes from April 15th to May 6th, Charlie. I couldn't seem to find
This is
anything.
probably the first.
Okay, I just wondered that it's the longest public hearing and open for comment maybe of all time. But with that being said, I'm going to just read the resolution being proposed.
Before you do that, could I interrupt?
You most certainly can. Any
I-
board comment, questions before I
Yeah.
do that?
I just wanted to comment to shed some light on the 2018 process and whether notifications were properly served or not. I can't get into that. I'm going to leave that to the attorneys. But I distinctly remember in 2018, because many of us did sit on the board, that the owners of the property came to us and asked for a rezone because it had been for sale for quite a while. And again, I don't know how long, but it had been up for sale for a long time. There is a legal process for owners of land to come to the board and petition for a rezone due to hardship. And that's exactly what we heard when we saw this the first time, was that they were not able to sell it at large lot. I see some people in the audience shaking their heads. This is what transpired in 2018. And that's how it went to rezone at that time.
I would ask that that be stricken from the record, had no relevance.
I'm just addressing concerns that were mentioned.
All right, here we go.
Okay, the public hearing is closed right now, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, okay?
Point of order, there's no striking from the record of a comment of a town board member.
Yep. Okay.
I'd like to say something.
Please do, Barry.
If we weren't here changing from R2 to R3, this would already be under construction. The fact that all of a sudden now, because we're going from R2 to R3, more people became aware of it is kind of, I don't know, that's odd to me, because I think if you folks showed up with this type of feeling when it was being changed from large lot to R2, it most likely would not have happened. But, we held all these meetings where it was open to the public, and we did all the things under request. You know, we talk about a plan. All plans are formed, and over a period of time, plans do have amendments made to them, and there can be change. And normally, that comes along with, because of some type of need, which was what was presented to us, need. It's unfortunate, but like I said, if we weren't here to rezone it again, it would already be under construction in the way that it was already approved. They came back to build what they thought and we thought would be a better plan. So it's unfortunate that this whole thing goes, and it seems no matter what happens that you're gonna fight and end up in court over it, and that's certainly your privilege, and no issue with that. It's just unfortunate that this had to go the way it is, but like I said, the reason we're all here is because we're voting to rezone property again, but it seems that the rezoning that we're doing now is more palatable than what it is currently. That's all I got.
In 2018, the resident came in and said they can't sell the land. It's a hardship. The board heard their requests, and we voted to go to R2. I do believe that we decided at that time not to go to R3, to leave it at R2 as one reduction in zoning. The comprehensive plan was made in 2008. There were residents on that committee of 30 to 60-some people that all agreed on how that plan was resolved. But that's a plan. Plans change all the time. They can go one way, they can go another way, they keep changing. That was not presented as a Bible to how the town should operate with respect to zoning, land use, or anything else. It's just recommendations that the residents felt would fit the town of Webster. Now, I don't believe one single resident sitting here today volunteered to be on that comprehensive plan committee. I could be wrong, but I don't believe any one of you volunteered to be on that committee. And there were a lot of notices sent out about asking for volunteers to come on that committee. As far as I'm concerned, we know they're going to sue, so let's just make a resolution to leave it at R2 and be done with this. And that's what I'm offering.
John?
I've heard, well, let's start with the fact that we're here to hear about the proposed change from R2 to R3. And we've spent a majority of this meeting going back and forth about large lot and how it went from large lot to R2, which has no bearing on this public hearing, in my opinion, at all. And I absolutely understand where these residents are coming from. I've been in a similar situation as a resident in a different municipality. There's avenues that they can take, which they have intimated that they may go that direction, and you have every right to do that. And I'm happy that there is legal recourse for you to go. I am. I have my opinion about large lot versus R2, large lot versus R3. I'm not going to articulate that opinion tonight because that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about rezoning of R2 to R3. And I think that we should move ahead at this point.
Well, and Bill, I totally appreciate where you're coming from, but I'm going to merge what Bill said with what Barry said. And Barry, it's like a V8 moment when you said it. If we didn't get into some discussions with the developer looking to buy the land about this better configuration to respect bufferings and have a chance to be less invasive of neighbors and of Salt Road, the land would have been bought, a plan would have been put in front of the planning board, maybe by now, for 79 lots, which is what R2 allows, with really no buffering, right up to the road, right on top of the people on the north and south. And maybe you would have heard about it through the notifications in the Webster Herald that they're going for sketch review at the planning board and then public hearing for final review. Or maybe you wouldn't have. And then all of a sudden the bulldozers would have been in there breaking ground and I don't know what would have happened at that point. But because the developer came in and said, you know, we have a configuration that basically is the same amount of homes as R2 and can kind of keep buffer zones and has the potential to do that with trees in the back and all that stuff. I've already said this. I'm like, geez, that actually sounds like a win-win. Well, obviously I was talking about that before I knew about what has been brought up about 2018. So this is the thing. Where I disagree with you, Bill, is that if we keep it at R2, then those gentlemen right over there are just gonna go to the planning board with an R2 configuration. And now it's going to,
We're not a planning authorization.
I'm just saying that off they go, because they have no problems building that R2 design for 79 homes.
I understand that.
I beg your pardon? Okay, well, that's, you know what, I mean, so to me, I think that I still stick to my original plan, my original thought that if this is going to happen, the R3 and the 79 homes and what they can do at the planning board and what you guys can come into the planning board if you decide to do to, like I said, keep them honest to buffer zones, both on Salt Road and all that. And if traffic studies make it that that housing tract can't go in there with that many homes and whatever, or if the engineering studies of drainage show that it doesn't perk or perks or all those things. This is not a fait accompli. There's a lot more to this process. So, to me, I think we're going to read this resolution to vote to change it from R2 to R3, because leaving it at R2, I think is going to be a worse situation for the citizens who have come in and told all the things. R2 and 79 homes gives just as many cars on that road as the R3 and 79 houses. But it doesn't give the potential for buffers on the north, south, and on the road. So, I'm going to read this resolution and then we'll vote. Thank you. It's a resolution of the Webster Town Board amending the town zoning map and zoning ordinance, Chapter 225 Code of the Town of Webster to rezone 69.587 plus acres of land located on the east side of Salt Road from R2 residential to R3 residential. At a regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Webster, Monroe County, New York, held at the Town Board Meeting Room at 1002 Ridge Road in the Town of Webster on the 6th day of May. All 5 board members were present. This resolution is offered by the Town Supervisor. Whereas the Town Board has authority pursuant to Section 264 and 265 of the New York State Town Law to adopt and amend zoning ordinance and to include a map adopted in connection with such ordinance and amendment, and whereas pursuant to the Code of the Town of Webster, Chapter 225, Section 225-5, all zoning districts are bounded and shown on a map entitled Zoning Map of the Town of Webster, effective July 2017, which map is made part of Chapter 225, and whereas certain revisions or amendments to the zoning map of the Town of Webster have been proposed, and whereas Nancy Schwenzer, 2510 Clearwater Street, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and William and Martha Smith, 1671 Lake Road, Webster, are the owners of the land on the eastern side of Salt Road in the Town of Webster, comprising 69.587 acres, bearing tax map numbers 050.02.1-38.2 and 050.02-1-23.1, and whereas Forest Creek Equity Corp. as contract vendee has petitioned the Town Board of the Town of Webster proposing a rezone the property from its current zoning designation R2 Single Family Residential to R3 Single Family Residential, and whereas the land to be rezoned to an R3 residential district are described as followed below. Schedule A, lands to be rezoned from R2 to R3, including tax number 050.02-1-23.1 and 050.02-1-38.2. All that tract or parcel of land situated in part of the town, lots 21 and 23, Section 11, Township 14, Range 4, Salt Road, and in the Phelps and Gorham Purchase, Town of Webster, County of Monroe, State of New York, being particularly described as follows. Beginning at a point being the intersection of the north-south corner of the land known as 282 Salt Road, now or formerly owned by Francis Cousineau, tax number 050.02-1-37, and the easterly right-of-way of Salt Road, right-of-way width 66 feet, as shown on a survey map prepared by McMahon LaRue Associates, dated May 2nd, 2008. Thence, all the coordinates: north 119.25, west a distance of 778.74 feet to a point thence. North 0111.05, west a distance of 836.76 feet to a point being the southwest corner of land at 200 Salt Road, now or formerly owned by James Sandberg. Tax number 050.02-1-23.2. Thence, north 88 degrees 48 to 55 east, a distance of 155 feet to a point being the southeast corner of said parcel. Thence north 011105 west, a distance of 142 feet to a point being the northeast corner of said parcel. Thence south 4855 west, a distance of 155 feet to a point being the intersection of the northern property of said parcel and eastern right of way of Salt Road. Thence north 01 degrees 1105 west, a distance of 124.07 feet to a point being the northwest corner of lands now or formerly owned by William and Martha Smith, tax number 050.02-1-23.1. Thence north 88 degrees 3530 east, a distance of 1,847.44 feet to a point being northeast corner of the William and Martha Smith property. Then south 3 degrees 4325 east, a distance of 423.34 feet to a point. Thence south 01 degrees 1015 east, a distance of 271 feet to a point. Thence south 88 degrees 1103 west, a distance of 570.36 feet along the division lines between lots 21 and 23 to a point. Thence south 01 degrees 1457 east, a distance of 189.82 feet to a point being the southeast corner of lands of William and Martha Smith, tax number 050.02-1-23.1, and northeast corner of a land now or formerly owned by Nancy Schwenzer, tax number 050.02-1-58.2. Thence south 01 degrees 1457 east, a distance of 1,194.64 feet to a point of intersection with the northern property line land known as 290 Salt Road, owned by Dean Lucas, tax number 050.02-1-26. Thence south 88 degrees 2635 west, a distance of 1,095.02 feet to a point being the southeast corner of lands known as 282 Salt Road, now or formerly owned by Francis Cousineau, tax number 050.02-1-37. Thence north 01 degrees 1925 west, a distance of 200 feet to a point being northeast corner of tax number 050.02-1-37. Thence south 89 degrees 4035 west, a distance of 200 feet to the point of beginning. Whereas the owners have submitted a petition requesting the town board rezone lands that are in an R2 single-family residential district to R3 single-family residential, and whereas the Code of the Town of Webster, Section 225-5.1, subsection C3, permits the town board to refer any application for rezoning to the planning board, which the board shall then, pursuant to Section 225-5.1D, shall recommend approval or disapproval prior to the public hearing on the rezoning petition. And whereas the Code of the Town of Webster, Section 225-112, requires that every application for rezoning be referred to the planning board, which shall recommend approval or disapproval prior to the public hearing on the proposed rezoning. And whereas the planning board resolution dated April 6, 2021, and a letter dated April 14, 2021, recommended that the town board grant, modify the proposed rezoning. And whereas by resolution of April 1st, 2021, the town board established the date, time, and place for a public hearing to consider amendments to the town's zoning map and zoning ordinance, Chapter 225, Code of the Town of Webster. And whereas in accordance with the town board resolution of April 1st, 2021, scheduled this public hearing, a notice of this public hearing was published in the Webster Herald on April 7th, 2021, and posted on the town clerk's bulletin board at 1000 Ridge Road, Webster, New York. And whereas a public hearing on the matter was held by the Webster Town Board at its regular meeting on the 15th day of April 2021 at 7:30 and was continued on May 6, 2021. And whereas all interested persons were heard, and whereas it is in the public interest to enact the proposed amendment to the town's zoning map and zoning ordinance, and whereas the proposed rezoning is in compliance with and in furtherance of the Town of Webster Comprehensive Plan, and the original zoning for these properties was R-A, which allowed single-family residents to be developed. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board finds that the proposed action will establish appropriate development controls and land use policies. The town board of the town of Webster determines that the proposed action to amend the zoning map will not have a significant adverse environmental impact, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be required to be prepared. The Director of Community Development and the town of Webster is to give any and all notices that may be required by the Environmental Quality Review Act for this action. The zoning map of the town of Webster, Section 225-5, Code of the Town of Webster, be amended to rezone 69.587 plus acres of land that are in R2 residential district to an R3 single-family residential district as set forth above. The rezoning and amendment of the town's zoning map is specifically conditioned on the following. The notice of the adoption of this resolution shall not be published, nor shall the zoning map be amended until the applicants shall file with the town clerk written consent to the conditions set forth in paragraph 5A above, with which filing shall take place within 14 days of delivery of the resolution to them or their attorney. The amendment of the zoning map shall take effect as provided by law. A copy of this resolution shall be published once in the Webster Herald, and an affidavit of such publication shall be filed with the town clerk. That is the motion I am proposing.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Nay.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Okay. We will now move on to regular town business. I'm not sure who was in to look at the bills this week.
I did.
Bill Abbott?
I reviewed the bills, and they're all in order. I recommend that we pay the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. I also looked at the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance and moved that we approve those.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Okay, Paul? You still awake over there?
I'm trying.
All right, I think the next
Usually a cup of
couple are yours.
Yeah, the next amendment actually are, the next resolution are actually amendments to the 2021 budget. You may ask why we're already amending the budget, but there are three reasons. The first item is $30,438 to purchase police body cameras, and the funds for that are actually coming from the Reserve from Crime proceeds, which gets funded through various channels of the drug enforcement area of the police department. So it's a very good use of the money. The next item is $87,900. It's a transfer from the Sewer Capital Reserve to close out capital project 80221. That was a project that came to be in 2020. There were emergency sewer line repairs to Gravel Road and Schlegel Road. The bulk of it was paid for in 2020, also from the reserve. And this was the remaining piece. We're making the budget transfer to close things out, and we can close up the capital project. The third amendment has to do with the debt service fund. When we do a serial bond issue to completely fund a capital project, we typically borrow a little bit more than what's needed to pay for the project. And those funds are required to be put in a debt service fund. And those funds are restricted monies that can only be used to pay down principal and interest on the same serial bond issues that relate to the capital project that they were issued for. So we have quite a bit of money sitting there, and I noticed that it wasn't being fully utilized. So I took a look at it, analyzed it, and found that about $57,000 could be transferred to the general fund, the sewer fund, and the library fund to offset portions of the 2021 debt service costs. So this amendment is just to enable that to happen. So that's the three of them.
Okay. Any questions?
No?
Well, I make a motion that we approve these 2021 budget amendments as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
All right, Paul, you're still on the podium, I guess.
Number three, these are 2021 budget transfers. It's the first group of budget transfers for this year. The highlights, there is one item in here to help fund the Paychex to Munis payroll conversion. which is well underway. We hope to have that complete within the next few weeks. There are also some police vehicle accessory expenses. There's a transfer for that. There's a $57,000 transfer to enable the purchase of the 8.1 acres on Pitcher Parkway, which is the land just adjacent to the highway garage. And then there are also some salary reallocations within the Public Works Department. The rest of the items are just housekeeping, smaller, more immaterial items.
Okay?
Any questions?
I would move that we approve the 2021 budget transfers as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second?
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Clary?
Aye. Now, the next one, from what I've heard, has been percolating around this town for many years.
2007.
Okay. So what ostensibly looks like a very benign resolution, there's some explanation, I think, that needs to come from this. I think the board is very familiar with the Eckler property. Correct me if I'm wrong, somewhat abuts 4 Mile Creek down there. Kind of brings two of our park/trail systems together in a way. It's been a sought-after piece of property by the town for a long time. Is that correct?
That would be correct?
And if from what I've heard, there just never was a meeting of the minds of, as often happens with buyers and sellers, the
Right.
seller wanted X, and the town was willing to pay less than X.
Minus X.
There you go. But through a sequence of events and things, the seller has come down to a price that is, for 18.11 acres, $60,000. And based on the most recent appraisal of the property and the assessed value, that seemed to be a price that the town was very happy with paying. So before I read this resolution, there will also be some future resolutions as far as the funding source. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct.
Okay.
Actually,
I saw it in this
funding
one.
for this one was not in this group. I was going to wait until you were approved to sign the contract.
Right.
We'll do
Okay.
it next time around.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, this is just kind of the first of, well, maybe there is only one more resolution, it's just where the funds are coming from. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I won't belabor the point. Does anybody have any other questions before I propose this resolution?
No, it's
Oh, I
open.
can't, yeah, that's right. But
It's open space, it's something we've been looking at for a long time, and it's time to do it.
Yeah.
So I would just request that you consider making this contingent upon the fact that we do have access to Lake Road. One of the questions that I had when I looked at this initially, this purchase and sale contract, was there's no address on Lake Road. Where's the property? I don't know. Josh was able to pull it up, and so most of the property is landlocked. It has no address on Lake Road. So I actually drove out there and based upon the map, and there's a very slim line that goes through there. And the majority of the property, like I said, is landlocked. So my only concern was to ensure we have access to Lake Road for the majority of this property.
Does it connect to that 4 Mile Creek access on Lake Road?
No. Not that I saw. I have the map, I can show it to you.
Does it abut Lake Road?
I think Josh and Mary are looking at something over there, the tax map number, because.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, it's a very odd-shaped parcel, but it does appear to have a pole-shaped strip that leads up to Lake Road.
You want to take a look at this?
I've seen it.
Okay.
Well, you're buying a whole piece of property, the whole parcel. If the parcel goes up to Lake Road, that'll be in the deed description.
Right.
So it should be a moot point.
Right, and I haven't seen the deed, I just want to make sure I'm just being careful here. To say that, okay, we'll agree with this, we'll move forward.
Well, if you want to put in the resolution and then add something to the sale contract contingent on access to lake roads,
Yeah,
that's reasonable. We have just to make sure that there is access to Lake Road.
correct.
If that's what you want.
That's what I would like the board to consider.
Seems like a reasonable request, so well, whoever's reading this resolution, if they could add that in, and Dolly, you record it, and I guess when assuming this resolution passes, Charlie will just write when we send over to the seller's attorney that condition. Will you do the honors, Betty?
I would authorize the supervisor to sign a purchase and sale contract contingent on access of this property to Lake Road for 18.11 acres located on Lake Road, tax map number 050.02-5-50, in the amount of $60,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Cody?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And boy, is it nice to think that we will have 18.11 acres of prime, undeveloped
Yes.
space. The Friends of Webster Trail are downright giddy about this. We met with them last Thursday on some unrelated issues, but they're
Yep.
really excited about this,
Yep.
so that's great. Okay, next up, is Chris Bowen here? Because this is the fill permit on 833 Lake Road with, I can't pronounce, is it Cinquefoil?
Cinquefoil?
Cinquefoil was,
Chinquefoil?
yeah, how do you pronounce that?
I would say Chinquefoil,
But
but
yeah, Cinquefoil Corp., 833 Lake Road fill permit.
That's his company.
Yeah, is there anybody out in the hallway, guys? Because, and I take it neither of you are here from Cinquefoil. Geez, if nobody's here to represent Cinquefoil, by definition, are we tabling this?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Charlie? If there's no representation for the fill permit, do we proceed with it or do we table it?
You can proceed with it if you feel you have the information.
Okay?
It's up to you. You can, if
Okay.
you need more information, you can table it and request further information. If you
Josh,
feel
we've
you
done
have
all the
enough
legwork on
information-
this, correct?
Yes, we have.
And everything is in order?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't know if, I'd never had somebody come here for something from the board like this who.
Well, he's already been in front of him
Yeah,
quite a bit, I'm sure.
yeah. Yep, okay. Well, from the paperwork that has been submitted to the board, and, Josh, certainly you didn't see anything unusual about this.
No. Mr. Corbett from our office has been working with the representative of Cinquefoil. They have an arrangement with Keeler Contractors, who's undertaking the Lake Road Improvement Project. So a lot of the fill that he's proposing to bring in is from that project. And there's two areas that he's just simply trying to level off. It's all just topsoil, clean fill, and it was recommended for approval by Mr. Corbett.
Great. Okay. Well then, I propose a resolution to approve a fill permit at 833 Lake Road for Cinquefoil Corp.
Second that?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cottrell?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Is Dan here? Dan, come on up, because you just heard,
Patiently waiting
you
outside
just,
for
yeah,
quite a while.
yeah. Bet you wish you were at a different board meeting than one with a public hearing that has you here at 9:15 for this, huh?
You guys are just doing your job.
Dan, and I'm looking back, I can't, it must have been last year, unless
It was a fence.
Yeah, I thought it was this year, but maybe it was 2020, because, well, Dan, I'll tell you this. You know, these licensing agreements and conservation easements are kind of they're a touchy subject for the board. We issue them, but we're always very concerned about the precedent that we're setting when we allow things in our easements. I don't know, well, I've only been the supervisor for 16 months, but do you guys ever recall that Mr. Driscoll was here several months ago, and we gave him a licensing agreement on a fence in a conservation easement in the backyard? We did not?
Did not follow through with it, sir. We basically, I did come here and ask for it, and we did, I don't know exactly what step we stopped at, but I decided not to proceed because of certain conditions on my end, being related to the contractor. They told me originally that the fence would be completed in July, and I had that all the way up until that point. And then after I came here and we were proceeding with, I was going to proceed with the town attorney in regards to filing it and getting it finalized. And I went back to the contractor, and they told me that not only is the project date going to be delayed 2.5 months, the cost of the project was going up 10 to 15%.
Okay.
And so at that time, I decided to not table it, I decided to eliminate that, and I informed, I'm pretty sure by email, that I was no longer interested in finalizing.
I do recall that now, you did, yes.
Okay. And
Now I recall it, yes.
it's, time flies, because I brought my board meetings from this year, and it's like, yeah, Dan was here, but that was a year ago, wasn't it?
That was end of June last year.
Unbelievable. Boy, did I have that missed time. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't issue a license agreement for a fence. That got done, and now we're coming back and asking for a license agreement for a shed in that same conservation easement.
Makes sense.
So is the fence, Charlie, is it essentially expunged, or it never got recorded, so it's null and void?
No, I don't think, no, we never filed it.
Never filed,
I don't
no.
think we followed through. We did pass the resolution. I recall it now. We had quite a few license agreements in the last year. But I recall now, Mr. Driscoll, we had prepared all the paperwork, and I think you either sent it back or decided not to sign it.
Not finalized, correct.
We never did file it, so.
Okay. And I'm probably wording this wrong. I just wanted to make sure, you know what they say when you assume. I was assuming that you weren't trying to have a fence and a shed, two different license agreements, one from last year and one from this year on the same conservation easement. I wanted to make sure I understood this correctly, that you really are, what is the proper word?
Well, can I make a
Expunging?
suggestion, Mr. Supervisor?
Sure.
And members of the board? Perhaps what you can do is rescind the prior resolution. I don't know, Dolly, we don't have the exact date, but we can rescind the prior resolution if you're going to consider granting this one. And this way you wouldn't have one hanging there that permits a fence as well.
Yeah, yes, because I don't know if I've seen the license agreement read off and whatever, but I don't know if it's got a shelf life. Like, if you don't put this in, whatever
Well, if you
we just
rescind it
approved.
tonight, that's the end of it.
Well, that's the end of it, yes, without a doubt, so, okay. Well, interestingly enough, we have the paperwork that came in. I do not think, because this is not a drainage easement or anything like that, we don't have any per se letter from one of our department heads saying this isn't gonna get in the way of anything. It's a conservation easement. So the paperwork that we gave to the board, does anybody have any questions on the sketch map or,
No.
I don't recall us ever having to rescind.
Well, that's.
I'm just wondering, do you have to have all the technical language that goes along with it to rescind it?
No, just, my suggestion would be just that, and I'll just give you the wording right now, that you're rescinding, I don't know, Dolly, do we have the date of that prior resolution? Can you bring it up? It was last summer, wasn't it?
Last
Yes, sir.
June, did you say?
That was the time I attended the meeting, and then I was communicating with the town attorney, and at some point in July, I believe I sent that email, just decidingly ending it.
Josh, do you have the property called up?
Yes, I don't
you?
have the original resolution.
Is that all grass back there in the conservation easement, or is it
No,
wooded?
there's quite a bit of trees. Do you anticipate needing to remove any as a result of
No.
placing the shed?
Nope.
No, it's heavily,
See, normally in a conservation easement, the reason it's there is to protect the woods that were, or tree line, or whatever that's there.
There's
Right.
not, I mean, I wouldn't say it's heavily wooded, but
no,
I'd
but
say-
there's a good deal of trees, but there are some open spaces within that area that would be conducive for a
Can this
shed.
be placed in that area without cutting any trees down?
correct.
Yes.
Phil, do you have the map?
I have this, but it
We
doesn't
have the
show.
map.
Right.
We just don't have
It
the,
doesn't show anything that's back here.
we don't have the area.
Oh, okay, I did,
So if
Right,
it's wooded, I'm
yes.
saying he's not
Sure.
allowed to cut the trees down.
I couldn't agree with you more on that.
So-
Couldn't agree with you more on that. 80-foot, 8 by 10 shed, got the setbacks, 15, but where that is, well, I mean, is there?
What was the prior, Dolly, what was the prior date?
It was Resolution 201, adopted on July 1st, 2020.
July 1st? All right, so my suggestion would be, if the board is inclined to grant this, that they rescind the prior Resolution 201 of 2020, which was passed on July 1st, 2020, granting Mr. Driscoll the right to put a fence in the conservation easement, and then you can go on with this one, and if you want to, permit him to put the shed in there. And you can put any conditions you want. If you want conditions that there be no trees
no
cut
trees
down,
be
we can put that in.
Okay. Well, is this, you, I guess, gotta read the proper verbiage, and stop me if I'm wrong, I propose a resolution to rescind Resolution 201.
201 of 2020.
2020. That was a license agreement for a fence in a conservation easement at 532 Deer Haven Drive.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Does anybody, before we go on to the next one, because we'll add the verbiage to this resolution of contingent upon no trees. Is that how you'd word that? No trees being cut down? I mean, does anybody else have any questions about the paperwork, the application, the sketch map as it's shown here?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
There are a number of, if you look at number 3, under the resolution conditions, there are 6 set forth. And you could probably, I would say, looking at B, C, you could just add something there saying that no tree shall be removed where the shed is to be placed,
Okay.
or something to that
I
effect.
think you just told me, Charlie, that I'm reading this resolution, aren't I? Okay, and you said under 3,
I would put it under B.
3B, 3B. Okay. All righty. Let's see if I've got my whistle wetted back from that resolution on the zoning change. That was one long one to read off, but here we go. Resolution of the Webster Town Board to grant limited relief from an established easement at 532 Deer Haven Drive, Webster, New York, at a regular board meeting of the Webster Town Board on May 6th, 2021. All 5 board members were present. Following resolution was offered. Whereas the conservation easement was granted by the town of Webster as recorded in the Monroe County Clerk's office by reference in Liber 313 on maps page 15 and Liber 9729 of the deeds page 681 in northern portion of the property at 532 Deer Haven Drive, town of Webster, and whereas Stacy and Daniel Driscoll are owners of the property located at 532 Deer Haven Drive, town of Webster, tax ID 078.07-1-59, and whereas Stacy and Daniel Driscoll have applied to erect a shed upon and within the aforesaid easement in conformance with the height and setback requirements as set forth in the code of the town of Webster, and that in the event the placement and/or size of such shed is not in such conformance, such shed shall not be constructed unless the proper variances are received from the town of Webster Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas the applicant has requested relief from the Webster Town Board to permit the shed to exist upon and encroach within said easement, and whereas the town of Webster has the authority to grant the relief requested and the public good will not be harmed thereby, now therefore be it resolved, pursuant to the application of Stacy and Daniel Driscoll, owners of 532 Deer Haven Drive, and in recognition of the hardship created if the relief sought herein is not granted, the limited detriment to the town of Webster, and upon the consideration of all relevant factors, the Webster Town Board hereby allows the construction of an 8-foot, Dan, is it 8 by 10?
It's 8 by 10, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
An 8-foot by 10-foot shed which will exist upon and encroach upon the easement affecting 532 Deer Haven Drive, town of Webster. This resolution in no way applies to any other encroachment violations or relief sought by the owners, his successors, grantees, or assignees from any other building, structure, or zoning violation which may exist on such premises. This relief is granted upon the following conditions. A, the proposed shed shall encroach upon said easement as proposed as shown on the survey map prepared by David A. Staub, license 50791, originally dated February 17, 2020, and shall be removable. B, the proposed shed shall not be expanded to further encroach on or in the easement, nor will it be moved from the permitted place within the easement as shown on the instrument survey map presented to the town board as represented above, nor shall any trees be cut down where this shed is being placed. Sufficient enough? Okay, did you get that, Don? All right. C, upon the destruction or demolition of the aforesaid shed or any part of it through the natural causes or otherwise, the owners of the shed will not reconstruct it without a specific resolution of the town board authorizing its replacement or reconstruction. D, the owners of the shed shall be solely responsible for any damage caused by or to the shed as a result of the town's maintenance of said easement. And the owners of the shed, its successors, and assigns further agree to indemnify, defend, and hold the town harmless for any or lost damage caused by the shed as a result of work done by the town as a result of reasonable and necessary work done by the town within said easement. E, in the event of emergency or if the town deems it necessary or imperative, the town will have the right to remove or take down all part of said shed without recourse by the owners of the shed to such removal or take down. F, this resolution shall in no way affect the rights, if any, of any other public entities or public utilities in or to the said easement. The record owners of the proposed shed in the town of Webster will enter into a licensing agreement incorporating all the conditions of this resolution in form and substance as approved by the town attorney, and which will further provide that the owners at their expense will record the license agreement in the Monroe County Clerk's office. That is my resolution.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Well, you've been through this once before. Now Charlie and you, the town attorney, will, you guys flip cards, he does some things, he has me sign it. I gotta say, it usually is no more than 2 weeks to it all being done. So I just would say, and Charlie will reiterate this, like if you were thinking, hey, the shed's coming tomorrow and I'm building it, I wouldn't do that, Dan.
No, there's no, unfortunately, it's the same COVID shortfalls with the supply chain. It's,
Yeah.
I just want to put a deposit down because, but I waited for this meeting, obviously, but
Sure.
it's, their costs have gone up probably 20% since I started looking at them in March.
Yeah.
So it's not coming anytime soon.
I hear you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Hey, Bill? Long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're almost to the end, gang, I think.
Well, let's go.
Wait a minute.
Number 7.
Oh, geez, I already checked that one off. I really apologize about this because this is probably Craig. All right, Craig, here on behalf of Brady and Susan Cockman. Is that right, Cockman?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is to, a licensing agreement to install a fence within a drainage easement at 1116 Stonegate Drive. Well, you already heard me say that, the board gets a little antsy about license agreements and easements. Now, on this one, I guess, maybe I should look at it from Craig. I should have read this. I take it Susan and Brady own the property?
Yeah, they have owned the property. I'm representing them, Brady's father, and they have 2 small kids under the age of 3. And there's the retention pond right next door. And they just want to protect the kids from getting into that area. There is the easement. They don't intend to do anything other than what they could do without a license agreement on the southeast and the east side. What they'd like to do is push the fence from the southern side of the easement to the northern side against, right at the property line. And it really doesn't change anything in terms of the fence. If they were to build the fence in without encroaching into the easement, because the easement and the drainage ditch don't coincide, they would have to cross, any repairs would have to cross the fence twice. And if they move it to the back line, it's further out of the way for both the town and for them, and it keeps their backyard looking more reasonable.
And there's an existing fence here now?
There's an old split rail fence all the way across the northern edge, and I would say about 50 feet on the east side and about 50 feet on the west side. And that will be coming down when they put the chain link fence up.
And we do have a note in the back of this packet from the Highway Department
You
about
do?
this.
I'm glad you got it, Patty. 'cause-
Don't you?
Yeah, we had,
The very last page.
There's 4 conditions from the Highway Department.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Cockman, are you aware of the 4 conditions from the Highway Department?
no.
Okay.
I did meet with Joe Marapiece at the property, and he agreed with me that it made more sense to put the fence along the northern border as opposed to the southern edge of the easement. But I don't know what those,
So just so that you're aware, it says the fence must be outside of the easement running from the Stonegate Drive cul-de-sac easterly to the drainage pond so that access to the pond can be maintained.
yes, that's the intent.
Number 2, the fence must remain on the property side of the pond outlets by a minimum of 15 feet. New fencing must allow the alignment of existing fencing within the drainage easement.
I don't understand what does that mean?
I think that you have to put the new fencing where the existing fencing is,
That's the intent.
along the drainage
Yeah,
easement. And the town highway department must be notified when a proposed fence layout is in place, so it can be reviewed and approved, and it must happen prior to any fence installation.
I included that in the package.
I just wanted you to be clear of what the highway department
Okay.
was asking.
Yep. Well, could you review the second one again?
The second was, the fence must remain on the property side of the pond outlets by a minimum of 15 feet. And I think your map shows that.
Yes, it does, yes.
Yes.
So they have room to get in.
Yep.
I don't understand.
Who's maintaining the catch basins in your yard right now?
Well, the highway department has done a fair amount of work, recently, on those catch basins.
And how did they access them?
They drove on the lawn out of the easement.
Okay, it looks as though that you have three catch basins on your property.
Yes,
2 are going to be inside the fence.
yes.
Okay. Now, if you have a fence all the way around that, how are they going to get in to maintain those if they need to?
They'll either go through the 8-foot gate that's being installed, or if needed, Brady and Susan are both wanting that drainage, to work. So they would take any fence down that's required for a larger piece of
But there is a
equipment.
big gate for them to get through?
Yes, they're putting a double gate in.
Oh, yeah, okay, see, there it is. I would want it here on the side, over here.
Looks like they're showing 2 gates.
There's a small 4-foot gate in the back, I guess that's the eastern side.
Yep.
Originally, it was going to be on the north side, but if we move it to the property line, there's no reason to have it there.
Okay. Okay, just so you know, if they have to get in there to work on them catch basins, something's gonna have to give.
Yep.
Because periodically, they'll have to be flushed. And that can be, the chances of that having to happen can be greatly reduced by you keeping them clean. So when you're mowing and that kind of stuff, that you don't get a lot of grass inside of them, that kind of thing, if you can keep those, is it your son that owns this?
Yes.
If he can keep those cleaned out, chances of them having to come in are greatly reduced.
Okay.
But if you're mowing them and the grass is going in them and things grow inside those pipes, and all of a sudden they won't work anymore.
Right.
And they'll have to come in with the flush truck and all that.
Yep.
And in the worst case scenario would be to have to dig up the pipe and replace it.
Right. I don't know why the drainage and the catch basins, or at least one of the catch basins, was put in a location not in the easement. But it is. So I can see why they put the catch basin where it is, because it's on a low part, and to put it back in the easement would have gone up a hill into a wooded area, but I don't know why the easement didn't match where the drainage was.
Yeah, because it's kind of like almost in the center of the yard.
Yeah.
Is it a low spot?
Well, it is because of the drainage. Yeah, the drain is low. It didn't, I don't think when they did the grading, it had to be that way, but it is now, and they don't need to change that, so.
Okay.
It just didn't make sense to us that the easement didn't match where the drain was.
No, because technically, if that's outside of the easement, that's yours to maintain.
But it's part of the whole system, so if the town needs to maintain the whole system, they would have to essentially leave the easement and do the work on their property, and they're okay with that. It just needs, they just need to know that it has to be done.
Okay, and I'm trying to look at all, am I interpreting this correctly, that the 4-foot chain link fence is gonna run exactly where the current split rail fence is?
On the northern border, yes. And then on the east and the west side, it will also match that. And then it's just extending further south.
So there's more chain link fencing than there is split rail.
Yes.
This might be a picayune question, but I mean, is it, I think it's great that you're here for your son and daughter-in-law. Is that?
Well, I was going to ask Mr. Cockman, that you understand that it would be your son and daughter-in-law that are going to be signing the agreement?
Yes.
And I'll be sending it to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie. You said it succinctly. Any other questions, comments from the board?
No?
On this? Can I ask somebody else to read this, please? I mean, Uncle.
I heard
Uncle.
the last one.
Uncle.
It's a resolution of the Webster Town Board to grant limited relief from an established easement at 1116 Stonegate Drive, Webster, New York, at a regular meeting of the Webster Town Board held on the 6th day of May, 2021 at 7:30 PM. All were present. Whereas a drainage and utility easement was granted to the town of Webster as shown in the map is recorded in Monroe County Clerk's Office in Lieber 230 of maps, page 83, on and along the eastern and southern boundaries of the property at 1116 Stonegate Drive, town of Webster. Whereas Brady and Susan Kalkman are the owners of said property located at 116 Stonegate Drive, tax ID number 080.17-3-20, and whereas Craig Kalkman has appeared on behalf of Brady and Susan to erect a 4-foot-high black chain link fence in the backyard of the property upon with foresaid easement in conformance with the height and setback requirements as set forth in the code of the town of Webster. And that in the event the placement and/or size of such fence is not in conformance, such fence shall not be constructed unless the proper variance is received from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Whereas the applicant has requested relief from the town board to permit the 4-foot chain link fence to exist upon and encroach within said easement. The town of Webster has the authority to grant the relief requested. Public good will not be harmed. Now therefore be it resolved, pursuant to application of Craig Kalkman on behalf of Brady and Susan Kalkman, owners of 1116 Stonegate Drive, and in recognition of the hardship created if the relief sought herein is not granted, the limited detriment to the town of Webster, and upon consideration of all relevant factors, the Webster Town Board hereby allows the construction of the 4-foot-high black chain link fence to exist upon and encroach within the said easement affecting 1116 Stonegate Drive. Charlie, where do I insert or is it here of what the highway?
I'll put in the conditions.
Do I need to say the conditions
I think they've already been stated.
Thank you. The resolution in no way applies to any other encroachment violations or relief sought by the owner, his successors, grantees, or assigns from any building, structure, or zoning violation which may exist on such premise. The relief is granted upon the following conditions. Proposed fence shall encroach upon said easement as proposed as shown on the survey map prepared by O'Neill Rodak, Land Surveying Associates, PC 5 Fitchus Street, dated June 2nd, 2011, project number 0319, and shall be removable. The proposed 4-foot-high black chain link fence shall not be expanded to further encroach on or in the easement, nor will it be moved from its permitted place within the easement as shown on the instrument survey map presented to the board. Upon destruction or demolition of a aforesaid 4-foot-high chain link fence, black chain link fence, or any part thereof, through natural causes or otherwise, the owners of the 4-foot-high black chain link fence will not reconstruct it without a specific resolution of the town board authorizing its replacement or reconstruction. Owners of the fence shall be solely responsible for any damage caused or to the fence as a result of the town's maintenance of said easement, and the owners, their successors, and assigns further agree to indemnify, defend, and hold the town harmless from any and all loss or damage caused to or by the 4-foot-high black chain link fence as a result of work done by the town, as a result of reasonable and necessary work done to the town, by the town within the easement. In the event of an emergency, the town deems it necessary or imperative, the town will have the right to remove or take down all or any part of said fence without recourse by the owner. The resolution shall in no way affect the rights, if any, of any other public entities or public utilities in or to said easement. The record owner of the proposed 4-foot-high black chain link fence in the town of Webster will enter into a licensing agreement incorporating all the conditions of this resolution in form and substance as approved by the town attorney, and which will further provide that the owner at his expense will record the licensing agreement in the Monroe County Clerk's office. That's the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Cottle?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Serry?
Aye.
Thank you.
Grandkids will be safe.
They will. We had I live in Penfield, and we had an 18-month-old walk into a family swimming pool a couple of years ago and drown. So they're pretty sensitive to keeping the kids away from the retention ponds.
Well, we better keep them away from the pool too, then.
Yep.
Does he need a card from you, Charlie? Are you going to exchange information?
I gave him the
I got
information.
Okay, great.
I've got a card.
Pass that on to your son and daughter-in-law, and tell them I'll be in touch with them.
Okay,
And Craig, sorry we had to keep you until 9:45.
I understand.
All right. Take care. All right, we're coming down the stretch, gang. I don't know, I mean, Paul, is there really any explanation of this, or we just,
I don't know much about it. It's a highway dump truck, they sending it to the spring auction, from what I understand.
yeah.
Pretty standard.
Barry, actually, I would have you give the explanation since this is in your wheelhouse, right?
Where are we here?
We're,
Number 8.
Number 8, resolution to declare the following an asset transfer from the highway department for auction. Okay, so what they're doing is they're going to take this, doesn't say what year truck it is, but they're gonna take it to the municipal auction, probably in Palmyra at the end of
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, second.
The reference to the asset number, though.
Okay, and the 10 wheels Sterling dump truck asset number 02284.
Okay, Councilman Dean?
Aye, nay?
It's
Did you
getting
get a
late.
motion and a
Who
second?
made that motion?
You made the,
Barry
I
made
was
the
just
motion.
reading it,
I
but we
would
can,
say
as a
Barry made-
motion,
Right.
okay.
I think Bill deemed that it was
I
making
thought
a
it was
motion.
Bill
yes.
seconded
Yeah,
it. It's getting
Bill
late.
seconded it.
Yes, I think.
I
Barry-
thought you were asking me for an
Well,
explanation,
you
but I
killed
will
two-
make a
You
motion.
killed two birds with one stone. I'm gonna say you made the motion.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cottle?
aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Serry?
Aye.
I will move that we declare the various items as asset transfers from Webster Sewer Department for recycling or auction. We have an entire list of 20 items. It looks like they're cleaning house.
Second.
Councilwoman Cottle?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Supervisor Serry?
Aye.
One of those items is a typewriter with correcting selectric number 3, an IBM.
And my friend Charlie Genesi, who taught me that word nunk-pro-tunk, you'll notice in the list of sewer assets from the previous, there is the last page, Chevy Silverado, 2010 Chevy Silverado pickup asset 4029. This actually went to auction. We had an opportunity. Art came and said, look, I got a chance to sell this thing for top money. And so I thought that was a good idea. It was in between our meetings, So we are doing this resolution to declare the following item nunc-pro-tunc as an asset transfer from the Webster Sewer Department for auction, the 2010 Chevy Silverado pickup asset 4029.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cody?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Canada?
Aye.
Okay, because I probably am not the most popular guy in town tonight, I'm gonna have the phone open for literally 60 seconds, and anybody who's still out there who wants to call in, God bless you.
They
You,
ran out of popcorn right
Still
now.
awake at 9:50. Charlie, any words? The purchase contract? Yep. Okay, you want me to use that blue, so I'm going where? Just initial there, and then the contract I'm signing. You want me to do the buyer's initials also all over this place? And that is 60 seconds. So this board meeting is officially closed.